And I'm so thankful to have with me Nicole Kaniki. Now, Nicole works as the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Specialist at Western and serves as a special advisor to the president of Western University on anti-racism. She holds a PhD in research methodology and quantitative methods, in addition to a master's degree in kinesiology and exercise science, and one in women's studies and feminist research. Now, when not researching and studying, and I guess getting more education, I don't know if we're working on other PhDs, but maybe, Nicole is heavily involved in her city and working in the lives of young people and empowering them. She's actually been volunteering with YFC London's Compass basketball team. I got to hear some of the programs that she was running with some of the workouts and just empowering them. And she knows the value of being a mentor as well as having strong role models and mentors for her two sons. So would you please welcome with me, Nicole Kaniki. Nicole, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, James. Thank you for having me.
So good.
Thank you.
So I'm going to turn it completely over to you to share what is on your heart around mentoring and what we can do in our city.
For sure. Thank you. Hi, everyone. It is an honor, a privilege, and a blessing to be here today and to be able to share with you a little bit of my and my family's, just our experiences and the opportunities we've had to partner with YFC and to be here as part of their community and what we like to call as well our family. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story as well, just so that you can get a little bit of context as to what has drawn myself and my husband as well to be able to be here in these spaces. But I'm originally from Cape Town, South Africa, and I grew up there. I grew up there in the heart of apartheid. Actually, our government changed over around the time I was a teenager. So figuring out the world, figuring out life was kind of part of my growing up. Also discovering my own identity and finding who I am in Christ was really much part of that as well. And realizing that not allowing the world to sort of dictate to me who I am, but that Christ has told me that I am precious in His eyes. And so that's really what I discovered through my relationship with Christ, and as well because I had some really awesome parents. I was very fortunate and blessed to grow up in a Christian home, in a family who encouraged that as well and empowered me in that way. And so I'm really grateful for that as well. So I had a bit of a long journey. My husband and I, we met in South Africa, and then we made the journey over to the US. I was actually very fortunate again at that time to be recruited out of South Africa. I played basketball. And I was recruited to Tennessee, Lee University, small Christian university in Tennessee, in Cleveland, Tennessee, where I was for 4 years. And I was very fortunate to be able to be offered a basketball scholarship there. And my husband Serge joined me as well. And so we kind of started our North American journey right there. It was some really great times. I had some wonderful experiences. I love basketball. I grew up with the sport, was introduced to it around the age of 13, and the day my coach, Don Gom, put a basketball in my hand, it never left. And it still hasn't left. Today, it's one of the things that my family and I use as our way to reach the community and to fellowship with each other and just kind of enjoy something that we do together as a family and enjoy. And so my journey kind of started over there in South Africa, brought me over to Tennessee, and then my husband and I, Serge, finished our undergrad in the US, and then we felt a calling in our lives to come to Canada. We made the trip with, at the time, our 3-year-old son, Noah, who is now 14. And we made the trip up here to Canada, and it was quite the journey. I had no idea we'd end up in London, Ontario. I quite literally one night just felt the calling on my heart to come here. I Googled, typed in looking for a university, and Western popped up, and I called them the next morning and started the application process, and it's where God called us to be. And then we piled up everything we had in a van and drove up here to Canada. It was quite the adventure, coming into London not knowing anyone, but we knew it was where God had called us to be. One of the things that God had really put on my heart before we left as well was that I was looking for a place that I could serve. We had some wonderful experiences down in Tennessee. It's Bible Belt. It's a fun and interesting kind of living environment, very different from Canada. Over there, if you can call it that, everybody's Christian. So you go to the workplace and everyone around you is Christian and everyone goes to church. And at the time when we were moving, I just felt, I said to God, you know, I want a challenge. I want you to stretch me. I want to be used by you. And little did I know he would bring me to London to really stretch me and really kind of bring me into a place that he needed me. But it was, I must say, it's been the most fulfilling experience. And so this journey really brought us here. It got us connected with our church that we've been at for a while now, Praxis Church, as well, that we've been here since the beginning, and got us sort of really into the community. And we had our second born, Micah, here in Canada. And so we have a Canadian, we have an American, and a South African, and a Congolese. My husband's actually originally from the Congo as well, so 4 different passports, but we just became citizens actually this year. So super exciting and really grateful to be here. But yeah, so the journey kind of led us here, and so now we're a family of 4, and we started raising our 2 boys in the city of London, and we got connected to basketball. It was here at basketball that we really sort of started finding our community, connecting with people through the clubs that our boys played for, and kind of building sort of our extended family here. Not having any family here was one of the hard parts. Our boys don't have aunts or uncles or grandparents or anything around. They're very, very far away. So, you know, the community that we engaged with was really the community that we took on as family. So with our church community becoming our family, our basketball family, kind of people also became our family. And that was also how we got connected with Jay. So one of the things that my husband and I, through our experiences with basketball and through the sport with our boys, we started coaching and getting involved as well. One of the things that we did realize was that there really wasn't much diversity. There wasn't many people who looked like us, if you can put it that way. And it was sort of like a longing and wanting to understand and know why that was. I mean, London, when we first got here about 11 years ago, we've been here for 11 years now, London wasn't very diverse either. It's changed a lot now since then in the past 11 years. But I think we were also kind of seeking for that, you know, I mean, we felt like we belonged, you know, we loved the people that we were surrounded with. But sometimes, you know, when you are of a certain identity, it's just comfortable to also find people who look like you and to find those spaces where you really do feel comfortable as well in that way, in who you are. And so we met Jay, and that was great too. Crazy surprise that he was actually from the city I was from. We were connected in so many other ways through people that we had known when we were teenagers, growing up in South Africa, very different. We'd never met, but we were very much connected through a lot of people. And so we kind of found family there as well. And then Jay connected us with YFC because through his work, and as and I think you've seen on the video just now as well, the amazing work that he does, he kind of drew my husband's church into that ministry as well. And my husband was able to kind of start to serve there. And one of the things we really did realize was when Jay was with his group as well, the amount of diversity that was in that group. What we realized too was that Jay, through YFC and through the Compass program, was giving kids in the city who couldn't afford to be in the basketball programs that our boys were in, we're giving them an opportunity to actually play the sport. And that is what we saw as, this is where we need to bring our hands. And why we really felt drawn to wanting to partner with YFC, wanting to partner with the work of Compass. Because, you know, I was a competitive basketball player. You know, our boys have dreams of being competitive basketball players as well. And so we're hoping to give them all these opportunities in life that we can. So we invest in them. And, you know, if you have kids who play competitive sports, it is very, very expensive. So one of the barriers that we really did realize to a lot of the kids who were more diverse in the city to actually be able to have access to basketball was the fact that they didn't have parents who could, you know, write a check for $3,500 in September. That's the requirement that you have when you want to play competitive sports. You know, you travel with the team, you know, your parents are expected to be there, to drive you there, to be there with you at the hotel, you know, to kind of take you wherever you need. And then there's sort of that pressure of being in that environment with more privileged kids as well. And so, we were in that space, and we were fortunate and so blessed and so privileged to be able to give our boys that because of the education we had and the opportunities we had had in our lives. But we really realized that there were obviously many families who did not have those kinds of opportunities, and kids who were really talented and loved the sport and could use the sport for so much more than just even just like a place to connect, but had true potential for futures as well that the sport was going to be able to provide them. And again, being with YFC, being with Team Compass, and seeing the work that they were doing, and oftentimes being able to provide the transportation and being able to provide the, if the family wasn't able to pay the fees, it's okay, don't worry about it, just come and participate, just come and play. That was really what we were so drawn to say that, yes, this is how it should be. If you want to play basketball, you should be able to play basketball. And this is where we thought, we were coaches and we have so much to give, and this is where we want to give. And so we really kind of began to partner. My husband started coaching as well with the coaches, being involved in that. We've been to different clubs as well, and it's a kind of very different setting too with Compass because my husband will oftentimes, load up our minivan, and he'll have 6 other boys in the minivan, and there'll be like 2 or 3 other coaches, with the boys, because their parents aren't able to make it. Their parents are working or they're not able to drive them, but we as coaches are able to be there and rally around them. I know some of the parents as well, and some of the kids will say it's kind of sad. We go to Toronto sometimes because there'll be maybe 3 sets of parents on our side cheering for our team, and being in Toronto or playing against one of the other teams, there'll be like the whole crowd full over there. But you know what? The amazing thing is that we get to be there for these kids, and they have the opportunity to play, and they get to be mentored by these coaches and by the volunteers. And I get to be a mom to so many of them when their moms are working and busy and not able to be there. And my husband gets to be a dad and a mentor. And that's what YFC has really allowed us to be able to do. I just think back to even my path, my own personal path. I come from a family who was very supportive in everything that I did, but my dad had a 10th grade education and my mom had an 8th grade education. They didn't have that much to give me. They took, I was very fortunate and very blessed. I think God had a plan and purpose for my life, and brought people into my life who did this for me, who drove me to my basketball games, where I went to a school that I actually stayed, during high school already. I stayed at school so that I could attend my basketball games, through my school. I was on a scholarship even for high school that allowed me to be in a good school that actually had basketball. And I think about all those paths, and a coach from Oklahoma who recruited me all the way in South Africa and gave a girl from South Africa an opportunity to come to the US. Just my whole path was really paved by people who decided that they wanted to invest in someone else and they wanted to give. And for us as a family in this work, in being volunteers at YFC, this is where we see it. This is our opportunity to do the Christian part of paying it forward, which is we are blessed to be a blessing. And in this work, there's many ways you can be a blessing. We've chosen to do it with our time and with ourselves, of giving of ourselves to these kids. We make connections with their families. Their families trust us as well. They send their kids to the games and to practices so many times a week, and they really entrust us with it. But it's because we've become family to those families as well. It's by no mistake that my husband would get a call at 1:30 in the morning to sit, by one of the parents that says, my son's having some trouble. Can you come over and talk to him? And my husband would be up and going to be with the family. That's what YFC has given us. That's the platform that they've given us to be able to connect with these families. Again, I think for us too, we feel it's important as a Black family to be able to give to the other Black families as well, because we understand them culturally as well. And so it's, you know, it's so much more than that as well. And you'll see the diversity and the representation in the people, you know, the volunteers at YFC, in the community as well that it serves. It really gives a safe space for us to be who we are as well, and to find those identities and those commonalities, and to share in it. And I just watch the beauty of the friendships that have developed on my husband's basketball, like Team Compass and Jay's teams. Because of the diversity. During COVID, it was a really tough time. And, you know, we went through the George Floyd incident, and, you know, so many of the things that we've seen happening on the media, so much of the racism happening, both south of the border, but also here. It's the reality as well in Canada for us. You know, we're not immune to the kinds of things happening down south of the border. It happens in a lot, you know, less, it may be explicit or overt ways, but it definitely does exist in the lives of people of color here in Canada as well. But what YFC really gave, I think, our boys this summer as well was an opportunity to be able to continue to connect during COVID, because they did the virtual platforms, they did virtual Zoom workouts and, you know, where they were at, but also opportunities of mentorship where they got together, they did devotions, and they got to talk about these things. And when you listen to the kinds of conversations they were having, you know, whether they were, you know, Black boys or white boys or boys, you know, from Muslim backgrounds or, you know, different religious backgrounds, or they all got to sit together and have these conversations in such a comfortable space, because they are a brotherhood. They already knew before all of this happened, because of basketball, because of the being in the community of Compass and YFC. They're a brotherhood. And so to be able to sit down now and to talk about the difficult things that they're all going through in this way, where they get to have understanding and have some commonalities and share with it and share each other's pain, and just kind of be in those spaces was so crucial and so important. And you know, those are the kinds of things we value. And one of the things I kind of wanted to emphasize as well, like I said, you know, for us who volunteer, we've chosen to give of ourselves and our time, but it really is for those who give as well financially that make it possible for us to be able to continue to do this work where we are at. I honestly think, like I said, you know, basketball is the tool we use to share the gospel. And if we didn't have this program, my husband and I wouldn't have the avenue we have today to be able to share with these kids in the way that we do, to be able to mentor them, to be there for their families. The fact that they get to be part of this program because of people like you, partners who give, who are able to, we're able to have them be part of this program where, you know, they don't have to worry, do I have the money to come this weekend to buy my meals for this weekend? You know, they don't have to worry, do I have the money for my uniform? They don't have to worry, do my parents have to write this big $3,500 check so that I can participate? You know, that sort of just, you know, I can't tell you how disheartening it is sometimes where I've been in those spaces where, you know, I'm a coach in another club where I'm telling all the kids, okay, this is what we're doing, and to all the parents, and you got to write a $3,500 check, and you've got uniforms, and you got to pay that, and you just see the discomfort in some faces because they feel like they don't belong. YFC really and Compass gives us this opportunity to have these kids be part of this and tell them you belong, you are part of this. And you have a future and a potential here. And we want you here and you belong. And sometimes, you know, that makes all the difference. That opportunity. I am here today because of opportunities that were given to me in my life. I would not be here today. And so this right here, and, you know, myself and my husband, in the work that we do, and the work that Jay does, and some of the other coaches as well, Coach Joshi, Coach Gareth, you know, all of the coaches that we have around that are part of this program, we give our time and ourselves. And I think the way we all partner as well, and how it's possible for us to do what we do, is because you all give and support financially. You might not be able to give your time and of yourselves, but, you know, by partnering with YFC and Compass in this way, you are making it possible for us to do this and give these kids these opportunities. So, you know, I just want to kind of close with that and say, you know, this life is hard. And we're so fortunate to even just be in Canada. I think even of the, you know, some of the friends that we left behind down south as well, who are struggling, going through such an uncertain time right now, even there. And, you know, like I said, I'm from South Africa as well, and COVID has hit really hard there too. We're so fortunate and we're so blessed and privileged to be where we are at today. And I think it's so important to understand that, you know, even here where we are at, there are people who could use our mentorship, our support, so that they can one day be blessed to be a blessing.